Hello from Liberia in West Africa, and thank you so much for joining me today for a thought from the Bible, a chance to dig into this amazing book in 10 minutes and just hear what God may be saying to us today. So, one thing I really love about the Bible is that the people in it are not perfect. Anything but sometimes. They don't always get things right the first time. They're definitely not right 100% of the time. They make mistakes. They say the wrong thing. And that's what makes this so very relatable to us today. Because, I don't know about you, but I don't always get things right the first time. I don't get things right 100% of the time. I make mistakes. Sometimes I say the wrong thing. It's great to be able to explore these stories and see that we're not alone in those moments. In the book of Mark, in the New Testament of the Bible, a father, brings his son to the disciples of Jesus to ask them to cast out a spirit that plagues him, that threatens his life day in and day out. And you can kind of imagine how awful this situation must have been for that father, watching his son suffer so much since he was a young child. And I'm sure that this man would have tried everything within his power to help his son, doctors and remedies, anything at all that might have helped, but nothing did. Then one day, he hears about this man called Jesus and his disciples. He hears that they've been traveling around the region, doing incredible miracles and healing those who have no hope. So this father, he packs up his son and they head to where Jesus is. Only at that moment, Jesus isn't there. He's up a mountain with 3 of his disciples having a bit of a transfiguration moment. So the father takes his son to those disciples who were remaining and asks them for help. The disciples, they look at the boy and we assume they tried something, but it seems like nothing happens. The boy isn't healed. There is no amazing miracle. Nothing happens. Just imagine how he must have felt in that moment. He'd pinned all his hopes on this. This was his last chance. Nothing else had worked. This was it. And he'd heard of people who'd been healed from sickness and delivered from spirits. But for him and his son, there was nothing. But thankfully, that's where we entered Jesus into the scene. And in Mark chapter 9, verses 20 to 24, we read what happens next. When the spirit saw Jesus, it immediately threw the boy into a convulsion. He fell to the ground and rolled around, foaming at the mouth. Jesus asked the boy's father, "How long has he been like this?" "From childhood," he answered. "It has often thrown him into the fire or water to kill him. But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us." If you can, says Jesus, everything is possible for one who believes. Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, "I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief." Now, I think the boy's father's reaction is kind of exactly how we would have reacted, really, in this situation. The disciples tried to cast out the spirit and nothing happened, and then suddenly there's another man here and this is Jesus, and maybe the man's hopes raise a tiny little bit, but not enough to be fully committed that he's going to see something amazing here. And he's like, "Yes, I'm desperate for you to help. Please take pity on us. Please help us if you can." Because he doesn't want to say, "I'm definitely going to see a miracle here," because he's had his hopes dashed before, and he is feeling that maybe there is no hope for his son, and maybe this is just how life will be. He is hopeless And so he comes to Jesus and says, if you can do something, please do. If not, that's just what it is. Jesus questions him on that little if and says everything is possible for one who believes. And the Father's response to Jesus there sounds a bit like a contradiction. Yes, I do believe, but at the same time, help me overcome my unbelief. I believe, but at the same time, I don't believe, and I need your help with that, Jesus. I wonder if the disciples were feeling something a little bit similar at the time. They'd seen Jesus do amazing miracles. They'd been involved in some pretty amazing miracles themselves. But now suddenly they were faced with a situation where they couldn't do anything. Nothing was working this time. It doesn't mean that they'd stopped believing in Jesus in that moment. It doesn't mean that they'd stopped believing in the power of God. But maybe there was some doubt, something that was blocking them, some disbelief, something that was preventing them from seeing God move in a marvelous way again. And I am not saying, not even for a moment, that the reason that we don't see miracles sometimes in our lives is because we are doubting, because we don't have enough faith, or because we don't have the belief. Yes, sometimes that can be the case, but sometimes we just need to go through a hard situation. It's through the trial that we develop perseverance. It's through the fire that we are purified like gold and like silver. Yes, God absolutely can do anything. He has the power to do everything. But sometimes we need to come through a situation and we don't necessarily see a miracle in the way that we want, and it has nothing to do with our doubt. But we still need to believe that God can move in amazing ways. And that sounds like a contradiction, just like the boy's father was facing. You know, we all have moments like this, I think, where we believe in God. We believe that he can do great things. But when we are faced with a specific situation, and maybe we have prayed into it over and over again and we've seen nothing happen, it's hard to believe for a miracle in that specific instance. We believe, but we struggle with unbelief. But you know what I love about this story, what I just find absolutely incredible, is that we can come to Jesus just like this father did and say, I really want to believe for this. I really want to trust that you can do something in this situation. Will you help me, Jesus? Will you help me overcome my unbelief in this specific area? I think it's so much better for us to come to God in honesty, to admit that we might be struggling and ask for his help with it. That's so much better than saying, well, this is clearly beyond God, isn't it? He can't do anything here. I'm just going to let this one go. It's so much better than pretending that we don't have any doubts and just trying to shove them down and forget that they're there and hope that they'll go away. How wonderful it is that we can come to God in complete honesty and say, I am struggling with this. This is really hard. And right now, I want to believe, but I'm finding that so difficult, God. This kind of feels like an if you can do something moment. I don't know how to believe in this time. Help me get better. Help me to trust. Help me to know that you can do anything, God. I want to believe. Help me overcome my unbelief. I'm not there yet, God, but I'm working on it. Isn't it amazing that we can have a conversation like that with God? The mighty, awesome creator of the entire universe is okay with it when we come to him and say that we're struggling. That is so amazing to me. And even the disciples, Jesus' closest friends and workers and colleagues in his ministry, when they came to Jesus after everything had settled down and asked him why they weren't able to do anything for the son, what Jesus told them was needed in that situation wasn't more faith. It wasn't a lack of doubt. What they needed was prayer. They needed to come to God. We can do that. We can come to God in honesty. We can bring our doubts and we can put our trust fully in him again. Yes, sometimes we will struggle. Yes, sometimes we'll find it hard to believe. But God is always there to help us. And that is an encouraging thought today. Thank you so much for joining me for that thought from the Bible. I'll be back on Wednesday next week with another video, so I will see you then.